Joining us for the political roundtable this week are Senator Johnny Ray Salling, Republican from Baltimore County, and Senator Jim Rosapepe, Democrat from Prince George's and Anne Arundel counties. Thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Senator, you were an early supporter of Donald Trump's campaign for the presidency, representing a section of Baltimore County that maybe has some things in common with the parts of the country that elected Donald Trump. Were you surprised by his victory at all?
Yes and no, I guess you could say. I was surprised that he won the margins that he did with the electoral vote. I think he did very well. He did great in my district and in Baltimore. Everywhere you went, you saw Trump signs. The people there, well-known middle-class people, very hardworking people, they changed a few years ago when I got elected in office, and I think they see the good thing happening there, and I think they believe in the same thing in President-elect Donald Trump.
Senator Rosapepe, were you surprised on Election Day?
I was surprised because I thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win the popular vote, and she has by over 2.5 million votes. So I was surprised that the Electoral College vote by, I think, less than 100,000 votes nationally ended up giving the presidency to Mr. Trump, given that Hillary won the majority of people in the United States.
Does Maryland already has signed off on
this?
Yes, we
have. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, this is a great example of the Electoral College not serving the will of the people. When Mr. Trump said the system was rigged, he knew more than maybe we thought he knew, in the sense that it is rigged under the Constitution as it exists today to deny the presidency to the person who the majority of people want. So 10 years ago, more or less, Maryland was the first state to adopt legislation that says that if a majority of the states, in terms of electoral votes, 270, agree that we will pledge our electoral votes to the winner of the national popular vote. We now have about 160 electoral votes that are committed to that. So I think we're on our way to putting the people back in charge. They didn't win this year, but hopefully they will in the future.
So that would be a way of changing the Electoral College system without amending the U.S. Constitution.
Totally constitutional. The author of it, as you can imagine, was Senator, now Congressman Jamie Raskin, the constitutional law professor. He designed that system, and we passed it. We were the first state to do it.
Now, do you think the parts of the country that perhaps benefit, maybe get an outsized vote, outsized influence because of the current setup, are they going to go along?
Well, obviously, people who have outsized influence want to keep it. That's what the folks on Wall Street want to do. That's what, folks in areas where their votes count more. But that's not the American system. The American system is every single person's vote should count equally. They don't under the current system, and they didn't in this election.
Senator, how do you feel about it? On the winning side, how's it look?
Well, I think they've had this for a long period of time. It's not broke. I think it doesn't need to be fixed. I think the people in other states, I think their vote wouldn't matter. I think it does matter now. That's why they went with the electoral vote, and I think they need to continue to do that.
You know, the Trump campaign people say now that had it been a national popular vote, they would have run the campaign differently and campaigned for the popular vote, shown up in California, for example. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and they should. Well, that's why people should campaign every place. That's why we should get rid of the Electoral College.
Well, and in Maryland, I mean, hardly anybody campaigns here, aside from the president-elect's visit to Dundalk, because we're not in play. If Maryland's 10 electoral votes are in play.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. But, I mean, we have the system we have. We can have a better system. I think that's really all it's about. We agree to disagree.
Yes, I agree to disagree. And at the same time, I think him coming to Maryland, and President Trump came to not just Dundalk. He went to Eastern Shore. He went to parts of Maryland. I think he saw that every part was an important part to him, and I think that's why he came here.
All right, we're a few weeks into the transition effort. How's he doing?
I think he's doing very well. I think he's gone above and beyond. As a matter of fact, he's turned the curve. He's picked some really good people for his cabinet. I think he's doing a great job.
From your side?
Well, I'd say two things. There are two Donald Trumps, as we all know. There's the reality television performer who says outrageous things and insults people, and frankly has been very divisive and continues to be very divisive. I mean, I think there are people in my district who I know are scared, and they're scared not because what Trump has done as president yet, because he's not president. They're scared by what he said. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is, who is he hiring to work for him, and what's he doing with the Congress? And there, I think he's he's not an outlier in the Republican Party. He's a traditional big business Republican. He's choosing for Secretary of the Treasury someone right out of Goldman Sachs. Talk about the fox in the chicken coop. And this is a big business Republican administration. And together with the Republican control of Congress, I think there are a lot of people very afraid of what's going to happen.
All right, specifically, what is that going to mean for Maryland? What are you concerned about?
Well, I think in Maryland, what I hear from my constituents is we need to protect Maryland. We need to protect Maryland values. So if he wants to take away health insurance, we've got to protect health insurance. He wants to take away civil rights, we got to protect civil rights. He wants to unleash Wall Street to take away people's homes, take away people's pensions. We've got to protect their homes and protect their pensions. So I think the agenda in Maryland needs to be protecting our people from the dangers that I think are likely to come out of this big business Republican administration.
Do you see dangers? What do you see coming from Washington?
No, I see good things happening. As our state has come full circle, we are really creating good jobs. We're doing good things. We haven't raised taxes in 2 years. We've done really great things in the state of Maryland. We've changed things for the better. I think we're going to make America great again, as the statement has been said. I think things, the way I look at them, businesses will come back to America. We can really get great jobs back here. We've always talked about good family jobs in Maryland. I think we can do the same thing for our nation. We can turn the tide, because I think there's been many things that have been broke. And I think even more so, we have a nation that's unstable. We have been divided for a long period of time. I think one of our problems is the Medicare. The medical companies that are out there, they're worried. People are worried. Businesses are worried. People are afraid to hire, because if they hire, there's accountability. And there's so much accountability in the medical part that they're afraid to hire people. I've worked for companies that told me they couldn't hire anymore because they have to go underneath the Federal Act, the Obamacare. And so they would rather hire people part-time than full-time. But to me, that's not a benefit for a person, let alone it's not good for our country. And so I think we can change that for the better for our country. And I think Maryland would be a better place to live when we can do that.
What do you think of this deal with Carrier to not move its Indianapolis facility to Mexico?
I think it's a great thing. That just shows you he, as well, I believe we all in Maryland are interested in bringing back good jobs here. We need to have our companies to stay here. They do not need to go to Mexico. They don't need to be burdened down with taxes. They need to stay here, and we can show that through this good administration. We can do some really good things here.
Jim?
I think it's more old-fashioned big business republicanism. I'm all for helping small businesses, but this administration is focused on big business. They're focused on Wall Street. They give these huge subsidies to Carrier. God bless them. They're owned by big companies. Great to keep jobs, although most of the jobs in Carrier in the fine print are actually going to Mexico. It's only keeping some of the jobs. But it's all with subsidies from the taxpayers. It's the same thing here in Maryland with this deal for Northrop Grumman, this deal for Martin Marietta. It's like the big guys always get the loot, and the small businesses are the ones that suffer. I'm not supportive of that.
So we've done a couple of these deals. The Northrop deal, just this week, there was an agreement between the governor and legislative leaders to move that through. Right. I think Marriott has a fresh deal as well. It's
pure Trumpism.
Well, I don't believe it's pure. I believe we see they're good businesses, and they're good for our state here. They promote good jobs. They bring good jobs, and that's what it's all about: bringing good jobs to our state.
All right, let's look ahead to the next session, which starts next month. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm sorry to sort of beat a dead horse here, but I think there are big challenges for our state and for our country as a result of these elections. Now, with the Republicans in control of both houses of Congress, with President Trump, they say they're going to pursue a very radical agenda. They're talking about potentially privatizing Medicare. They're talking about the immigration issue you're talking about, turning the nation back on its tradition. We're a nation of immigrants. I came from Italy. It's not all about new immigrants. It's about all of us who are the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren of immigrants. They're talking about rolling all that back. So I think the focus during this session needs to be on what my constituents are saying is protect American values. Protect us from what's likely to come from Washington. And we can do that. Healthcare is a great example. They can try to take away healthcare, but we can make sure it stays here in Maryland. So I think that's an example. It's like where we can protect Marylanders from the dangers coming from Washington.
Senator, what's on your agenda?
Well, we have a few things in mind. We think that all lives matter in every part in the eyes of God. But we believe, more importantly, blue lives matter. And we have a bill that's going to be going out to make at any given time, if any law enforcement is murdered, we would like to make it a hate crime. We want to protect those that protect us. Protect and serve is what they do. And it would only make sense to protect them even more and make people more accountable to taking lives that they shouldn't be doing in the first place.
How's our budget situation? We saw the revenue projections were written down, and
it's not,
we've
not
had some
terrific.
cuts.
They were written down, so I think it's going to be a tough budget year. So I think we're going to have to make tough choices in this area, as we always do. We always pass balanced budgets. We argue about some of the priorities,
Yes.
Which is perfectly reasonable. But I think it's going to be a tough budget year. But we'll pass a balanced budget.
I agree. It's going to be tough, but at the same time, I think we'll do well. We've been doing good the past 2 years. I think we'll do well this year.
Tough budget year at a time where we just saw the national unemployment rate drop again to 4-point-something%. Should that be the case?
Well, it's complicated because we have the income tax, we have the sales tax. It's affected by what happens in the stock market in terms of capital gains. So the revenue numbers don't exactly track economic growth. So the other point is when you write it down in a $40 billion budget, when they're written down by several $100 million, it's not a huge write-down. I mean, one of my concerns has been forever that we budget so close to the line. Yes, we have a rainy day fund, but we ought to have a much bigger margin of protection. So we're not budgeting every last dollar. But that's why these write-downs make a difference. We could be more conservative, and I agree with that.
In a couple of seconds, any sleeper issues, anything that might move? We're hearing that the paid sick leave bill, there might be a deal.
I guess we'll see.
I hope there will be unpaid sick leave. I think it's important.
Very good. Senators, thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.